In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create a weak matrix chart in chartjs 4 with a basic bar chart. So to do this, the first thing what we need is our border template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com. Getting started. Once you're on here, copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to get the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page, which is not loading right now. And got a question, put it on Discord. All the links are in the description box. So the first thing what we're going to do is we're going to play around with the scales. So what we're going to do now is we're going to first work with the Y scale, because here we have a few tricks here, or we're going to use some tricks to do this. We need to have a floating bar. We need to make sure that every bar segment will be a block. And of course this here needs to be a time, or not really a time. It's basically just text, but we will convert it with some tricks into a scale that looks like time, where we have 0 and also 24, or at least one of those need to be reset. So let's start to work on the first part, is to create the scale. So we're going to remove the begin at 0 because we don't need to start at 0. What we need to do here, first of all, is we can say here the grid. We're going to remove this. We say display false. And then what we want to do as well is we want to start with a minimum value of 1 and the maximum value will be 25. If I save this, refresh, there we are. Next, what I want to do is I want to reverse this. This needs to be reversed. So we have the starting of the day and ending of the day. But the 25 will eventually be another number, 00 or something like that. So what we're going to do here, we're going to say reverse. Set this on true, save, refresh. Alright, so now we have something that looks slightly better, but of course this here needs to move to the very top. So we're going to say here on the X scale, put a comma here, and then I'm going to say here position top. Make sure this is a string value. Refresh, there we are. Alright, let's remove the legend as well. We don't need the legend, so I'm going to say here after the scales, put a comma, plugins, say legend, and then display false. Save, refresh. Alright, so now we are getting the basics. So before I even continue on with this, let's start to make the bar segments, or at least all these steps. For that, I'm going to use tricks here. So what I'm going to do here is the following. In the data here, I'm going to make it like this, then say X, and the X here will be on Monday. So this is a category access. The X is a category access, so we can identify by Monday. Then what I can do here is for the Y value, and I will start at 0, or we make here a array. It's 0 to 1. This is basically a full hour that we cover. Let's save that, refresh. Alright, so now it's not working yet, so let's see what we have. I think we skip the 0, so let's put the 0 in here. There we are. So now we have from 0 to 1 and going onward. So I guess we can keep the 0, and here later on we have to put this 24 as 0 as well, but probably we'll hide this 0 and say here hour number 2, this is hour 1, the first hour, second hour, etc, etc. So we have something here, but what I also want to do is I want to assign a score, because I want to make sure that whatever we use for the bar, we have an intensity of color depending on the value. So I'm going to say here a score. I'll make this 5. Score 5. There we are. Right now it just means nothing. It will not even recognize it at all. Don't worry, we're going to work on that. So now what I'm going to do here, put a comma, paste a few items. Oh, sorry. I'll just hide this. And I think we have here, well, let's put in 7 items. Alright, save. Refresh. Now they're all on top of each other and they're all in this similar color. So I'm going to just remove everything. I'm going to use only one single color for now, but the value here will be changed. So we're going to highlight each of them like that, and we just put in here the next hour. So we have a starting hour and an ending hour here. Save, refresh, there we are. Now we're starting to get something. What I would like to do here then is put a bar here, or a border at the very top. So I'm going to say comma border skipped set on false. Once we do this, save, refresh. Now every bar has a border or a top border. So once we did this, we could maybe even change the border and say the border color should just be white or transparent. Save that, refresh. There we are. That looks much more better. We could say even a border radius. Let's make that nice. Border radius. And let's give it a 4 pixels. There we are. So now we have this here. How can we assign colors to this based on the score? And the score should be, let's make it 0, 0, 0, 0. And then we expect here, we start to get activity 5, 10. Well, I'll just keep it everything below 10. So there'll be 7 and then 9. Alright. And of course you can play later on with the logic of that. I will just make it very simple here. So what I'm going to do now, so we have this now, you can see this works nice. Let's make this more wider. I want to cover it from left to right. We have the border radius on here. So what I'm going to do here now is comma, I'll say here bar percentage. I will set it on full 100%. By doing that, we make it wider, but we can see here we also have a segment or a category percentage. So say category percentage. And put it in 1 as well. Save, refresh, there we are. That looks alright, and maybe we could make it a bit more narrow. Or we're going to say here 3 pixels or something like that. Oh, that's 2 things. Let's make it a 1. I'll just keep it like this as it is. Of course, I think here what we could do would make more sense. Let's scroll down. We're going to just make the shape instead of a rectangle. We're going to make it a square. So we're going to say in the options, we're going to say here aspect ratio instead of 2, which is by default for bar chart. We're going to make it 1 like a pie chart. That looks much better. It's easier to see. Alright, so far we have this. How do we get the colors of the value? Because the score right now is not being recognized. So for this, we're going into the background color. I will use this, and then we will calculate the intensity based on whatever we have here. But I will not spend too much time in making it complicated. You can do that on your own once you understand the logic. So what I'm going to do here is we have it like that. We're going to make a callback functionality to remove this. We're going to say here CTX. And what I want to do now is just show you what do we have. Do CTX because what I really need is when I go into the background color, I want to grab this color or this score here. Based on the score, define the intensity. So let's refresh. Alright, we forgot a comma here. Save, refresh. There we are. Right now it's all transparent, as you can see, because we didn't return a value. But once we get this, you can see here what we're getting here in the raw. We get the score, the X, and the Y. So this score here is what I want to extract now. And based on that score, we calculate a formula on how intense the color will be. So what I'm going to do here is, let's say here, I'm going to start with the lowest, and the lowest would be equal to 0.1. And this is the reason why I start with 10. Or what I will do is that the score will never be higher than 10, because if not, the intensity is 100%. So it's like full solid color, no transparency. So when I have this as lowest value, what I want to do now is basically say return, then RGBA. And what I'm going to do here is I'll make this a backtick, so a template literals. And then I'm going to put in here the value. Let's say here, the color was the red color, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, if I didn't mistake. Well, this is the color I want. So I'm going to grab all of this, put it in here. But when I did this, or what I want to do now, let's remove all of those excess data. This here will be based on this. So what I want to do here, I'll say here, this will be lowest multiplied by score. So how do we get the score? Well, basically we go to, we have the CTX. From CTX, I go into the raw and then score. So that's what I'm going to do. So we say CTX dot raw dot score. This is what I want, so multiply by that. So let's remove this one and just see if we get something. There we are, and as you can see here, this is intense, but what about the ones that is 0? For the 0, we need to work with something, so it will make sense. So what I want to do here, we make an if statement, if, and I guess here that this constant could be outside. So if we're going to grab here the score, and maybe we can say here, to make it shorter, we say constant score equals this. So if, put that in here, if the score, we could say here, equals strict 0, in that case, I just want to get a gray color. Return 0, 0, 0, and then here, let's say 0.3, something like that. I'm just making some default color, and else we're going to put in this specific color. Save, refresh. There we are. Now we get this, but of course what I want to do is when we hover over it, you just make it a bit more nicer. So what I'm going to do here is to make a hover effect. Let's remove all of this, and then we're going to just copy the entire logic that we have here. Put in here, we say here, hover background color. And the hover background color, we'll just keep it same, but here we have the score, I'll just say here plus 0.1. And for this here, for the hover, we'll make it 0.4. Very straightforward. Let's save that, refresh. Now, do we have, you can see here, I feel like it's quite hard to see. Maybe say 0.2. There we are. There we are. It gives a decent amount of color difference. I'll like this more. So this is quite this, and I guess this one is very transparent, so it doesn't matter anymore. Or sorry, not very transparent, very solid in color. The score is almost full color. Alright, so now we have this here, and I think that would be more accepted. You could even change the color here or maybe give it a darker shade. I'll leave that as it is. So we have this here. What I want to do now, of course, is, well, let's do it for the other days as well. So we have some samples. I'm just going to grab all of this and do the same thing here. But now I just say choose state. Straightforward, nothing fancy. Save, refresh. Alright, that looks beautiful. So now this all works. Hover effect. I feel like this tooltip should be more appropriately pinpointed, more in the center. So that's what we're going to do now. So let's go to the tooltip here. We say in the plugins, comma here, and then we do here tooltip. And then for the tooltip, we have to look now what we want to do. We want to do here an X align or maybe the caret padding. Let's do that one first. Caret padding. And the caret padding is nothing more than the padding of the position of the arrow or triangle of the tooltip. That is called the caret. So let's say if I give this a 20 pixels, let's see if it moves. Does it move up or down? It will move to the very right side. So that's not what I want. So I'll just leave it for now. But then what I want to do here is I'm going to say X align. Let's try this first. We'll put it in the center. I want to move this one to the center and see if this works. Alright, it goes in the center, but I'm not satisfied with this because the caret is missing. So what I'm going to do here, comma, Y align, and I'll just point the caret then down. Bottom. Save, refresh. There we are. That looks a bit more better, but I want to move that one a bit. Let's see if we can do now the caret padding of 20. See if it, oh, I forgot a comma. That's why, sorry. Save, refresh. And I think here now that is more better. So we know now where we are. Maybe we could move it a little bit more down. Maybe 50 would be more than enough. So we're exactly in the center. Alright, I'll accept this structure for now. That looks more than enough. The only thing is here at the very top. And the reason why this happens is because we are almost outside of the chart area or the canvas. That's why it figures out that it will squeeze itself as much as possible. So what I want to do now is make sure that the Y scale is appropriate. So we're going to work back here in the Y scale. We're going to start working on to converting the items. Because what I really want is I want here this to be incremented with 2, but I want to start at 2, not at 0. So what I'm going to do here, the begin at 0 already removed. What we could say here is in the ticks. And then within the ticks, we're going to say the following. We're going to say here step size. Let's put the step size on 2, see if we get what we want. We're getting what we want, but not fully. So let's start to move this a bit more. So what I'm going to do is, maybe we can even hide this, we don't need this. I'm going to make my own tick structure. So I'm going to say after tick to label conversion, and then we're going to say here the CTX, and we're going to just look into this. So what I want to do here now is just say console log and say CTX. Let's see what we get out of this data here. Grid is not identified, of course. Make sure you put the commas. So once we did this, we're going to get here all the data from all the data from our Y scale specifically, and you can see here all the ticks. So what I want to do is I want to customize the values. And you can see here, look what is the structure here. Because of the reverse, it already understands that it reverses the calculation, but the ticks are then as well in reverse. So we have to make sure we do that. So the first thing what I want to do is I want to increment it by 2. So I say 2, I will remove the 0, and 24 will be the very last. So let's start to do that one first. So what I'm going to say here is constant ticks, and this will be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and finally 24. So once we did this, we need to make sure we reverse this. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a reverse method. So we can say here ticks.reverse, then it will reverse. Alright, that's the right way to spell that. Once we did this, we should be able to see now the ticks in the correct manner. Starting from this, I guess high to low, or high to low, that is correct. So now we have all of those. Alright, let's start to put these in as well. So what I'm going to do is, let's do the console log here. We have the console log, and you can go here to the ticks. I'm going to remove all the ticks that we have and replace them with the ticks that I'm going to create. We have the value of 0, and the label will be 0, or whatever the hour would be, but 24 will be 00 or something like that. You're going to use there a specific value so it's clear. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say ctx.ticks, and we're going to remove all the ticks that we have. There we are. If I do this, save, refresh, you can see here now we have no more ticks. Our ticks is blank. So what I want to do here is put in the value that we have, that we reversed, and put it in there. So what I'm going to do here is, for the ticks, we do a for each loop, and then we're going to say here for the value, comma, index, and then function arrow expression, put that in here. I'm going to loop through these and push them in. Since this is now in reverse order, we don't have to worry about fixing that because of the reverse here. So what I want to do here is, let's see, we have a few things. I want to say ctx.ticks.push. And then before I even do this, remember we have this here. This needs to go up. I need to undo the ticks. Let's put it in there. So we remove all the existing ticks, create a new array, and then we reverse that array. And then we're going to loop through this for every item in our array and push that back into this new ticks structure. And the structure is very simple. We're going to say here will be the value, and the value will be equal to the value we have of the tick. And then what we're going to say here is for the label, and the label could be the value as well. So once we did this, we have this done. If I save this, refresh, we should have everything here. However, what I would like to do, of course, is fix this one here. I'm not satisfied with this. This should be not 24, but it should be 0, 0. So what I'm going to do here is very simple. Just create a simple if statement, and you can fine tune it afterwards. I'll just keep it very straightforward. So that if the value would be equal strict of 24, in that case, I'm just going to copy this and say this will be equal to 0, 0. And else, just continue on with the for each loop. There we are. Save, refresh. So as we do this, you can see here now it starts to look quite nice. And then here we have the 0, 1, we have 1 here. Maybe what we could do is push this number 2 a little bit up or down. It's depending on what you want, but what I'm going to do here, I'll just push it up a bit. So what I'm going to say here, probably in the ticks, we have the step size. I have a feeling that this is not necessary anymore. There you are. There's no need for that. Then what I want to do here is, let's say here, align at the very start. Let's see if we can move that a little bit up. Alright, it starts going down. It's alright. So then what I can do here is say comma, maybe the label offset, put it on 5. I think it will go down as well. Yes, we can probably move it up because this is 2 till 3, so I feel that this should be maybe up, and maybe this should be instead of start, we'll do it in the end. There we are. I think that looks more better. Let's test a few items more just to be sure. I'm going to put in here for Tuesday, but now what I want to do here is 2021 or 23. Well, let's do 22, 23, 23, 24, and let's see what happens if I do a 25. Maybe we need to trim that down a little bit. We'll see. 24 to 25. Save, refresh. And as you can see here now we have this. And there we are. Alright, I think that looks quite nice. We can probably remove this one here from 24 to 25 has no value. That should be not in there. So the maximum will be 24. There we are. And now we have everything working. Let's remove that one, and that's perfect. Let's delete this, save, refresh, and there we are. Let's see if we hover over the items, all the tooltips will work nicely. And of course we could play around with the tooltip settings, but I have a separate video for that if you want to know. And that's it.